One of the most specialized and well-trained branches of the Imperial Stormtrooper Corps, Space Troopers are a breed you might not often see, unless you're in space and are ready to find out.
Prepare to board!
These highly trained units are commonly referred to in the lore as equal to the Royal Guard in terms of their training and ability. This level of combat prowess is needed in order to effectively operate the primary equipment of a space trooper, their large power armor. There are a lot of gaps in the history of the development of space trooper armor, as well as things you might not know. So in this video, I'm going to lay out the various marks of space trooper power armor, their technical details, development, and notable deployments throughout the Galactic Civil War.
Clear!
Armored suits have seen use throughout the centuries, from the armor of the Mandalorian warriors during the New Sith Wars to the Corellian power suits of the Jedi Civil War. Power armor was once the province of the military, but in the modern era finds use in commercial power suits, from the Verkel servo lifter V2Z with its servo-enhanced exoskeleton, to the Regalis Engineering's EVA vacuum pod with its droid brain-assisted piloting. Power armor now stands at the pinnacle of personal armor technology, but this was not done in quiet isolation. This is the result of centuries of development, competing designs both in the market and on the battlefield. Even the years before the outbreak of the Clone Wars continued to see conflict after the fall of the Sith. In this period, suits of combat armor rose to almost legendary status, and in the years to come would be prized collector's items, wanted by collectors, bounty hunters, and governments alike. From the Juggernaut combat battle armor to the DZ-17X power armor, all these and more earned their place in history, but none so much as the most widely developed power armor in history, and that goes to the Imperial Space Trooper and its variants. These suits' ancestors were born in the turmoil of the Clone Wars, as several long-standing Imperial technology would be. During the early years of the Clone Wars, the Republic was hard-pressed to deal with the mechanized units of the droid army. While several planetary forces had suits of power armor that served as a great support unit, they would be lost in large numbers throughout the conflict. Moreover, the conflict was not only limited to planets, but in space as well, where the CIS Navy had an early advantage with its converted armed merchant ships against the older judicial and planetary defense fleets. It was so bad that 10 months into the war, a separatist strike force managed to land on Coruscant itself and attempted to attack the Jedi Temple.
The city is under attack!
Defend the city, we must.
Republic defense forces were forced to fight against new droid units, including the fearsome Cortosis B3 battle droid, even had to engage in hand-to-hand combat according to some accounts, including the war hero and future space trooper, General Rom Mach.
Attack!
Thanks to the efforts of the Jedi on numerous fronts, these armies of men and machine were eventually pushed back, and by the time of the Outer Rim sieges, the Republic had developed new weapons to fight against the CIS. From powerful warships such as the Victory and new Venator-class Star Destroyers, to power armor such as the clone Blaze Trooper power armor and the first variant of Space Trooper armor. The prototype clone Space Trooper armor first saw action in the Battle of New Bornalex, against the hardest foes they could have likely faced, not only a detachment of separatist battle droids, but also against the Mandalorian Protectors, led by Fen Shaisa, who was fighting against the Republic under the new Mandalore the Resurrector. Leading a unit of the fearsome Battle Legionnaire war droids, the Republic forces had been hard-pressed against the Mandalorian soldiers who'd attacked several Republic worlds, including New Bornalex. During this battle, the Battle Legionnaires would suffer heavy casualties along their B-2 comrades against Republic forces. However, the clone troopers of the 21st Nova Corps, later known as the Galactic Marines, would not go down quietly. During the battle, the unit had been equipped with new Space Trooper armor. While its weapon systems failed, the clones would instead use the suits to engage in hand-to-hand fighting against the droid units, where their superior strength and extensive training would allow them to make effective use of this armor against the droid units, tearing them limb from limb and punching holes in their Acertron armor. Despite the outcome of the battle being a bloody beating on both sides, this nonetheless successful demonstration of the combat ability of the prototype Spacetrooper armor would see its continued development and usage throughout the Clone Wars.
Prepare for low-gravity infiltration. Seal your suits. Good luck.
As the New Order expanded following the end of the Clone Wars, the Imperial military came to recognize the need to make more specialized equipment for the vast swaths of space it was now charged with controlling. The problem is that the galaxy has terrible dangers, from the deadly radiation of outer space to the various diseases, beasts, and environments they'd have to contend with on a daily basis.
Out there beyond that fence, every living thing that crawls, flies, or squats in the mud wants to kill you and eat your eyes for jujubes.
Space Troopers represent the attempt to control one of the most dangerous: open space. From cosmic rays to the extreme heat and cold, they need a reliable suit to ensure their troopers could carry out their stated objectives. Their previously tested power armor suit laid the groundwork for what would become the modern Space Trooper, but as seen in the original suit, it still had flaws that needed to be ironed out and refined. The technology was powerful, but for the new Stormtrooper Corps they need a powerful and reliable weapon for the rapid expansion planned by the military. And most importantly, they'd need the right mind to put it together. Enter Dr. Nashiak Llalik, the father of modern military power armor. A native of Plavin 6 in the northern rim of the colonies, he grew up fascinated by history and of armored warriors such as the Mandalorian Death Watch and the Sun Guard. He would go on to graduate top of his class from the Chandrillan Academy of Sciences and would be recruited by the Compnor Science Group. Within the early Imperial period, he began work on his first infamous invention, which he would struggle to complete for decades: his passion project, the Sunder 9 power armor. Having impressive armor stats akin to its Space Trooper descendant, it's got incredible strength thanks to its upper servos. Its armament includes a left-mounted blaster cannon and a flame projector in the right arm. It has a jetpack for maneuvering, an aquatic propulsion system, sealed environment filter, a built-in body glove, 270-degree vision, macro binocular vision, specialized sonar and infrared sensors for underwater and night vision. It's the full package of everything you'd want in a suit of power armor. But within the first 2 years of the Empire's reign, a new law was passed outlawing certain classes of power armor in civilian usage. The powerful Sunder 9 easily fell within this category due to its weapons and advanced design. The two prototypes would be stored away in a vault by Dr. Llalik in his mansion, which he would acquire thanks to his work on many Imperial projects. Because while his dream suit would never be completed, he would go on in Imperial service to develop several of the best and most advanced suits of armor in the Galactic Empire.
Is it better to be feared or respected? And I say, is it too much to ask for both?
When the science group was folded under the Coalition of Progress, its members, including Dr. Llalik, would find themselves pressured by Compnor to work on new military programs. While the organization largely overlooked this requirement, allowing members to continue work in more basic fields, Dr. Llalik excelled in military application of his ideas. His innovations would lead to the development of the Radiation Zone Assault Trooper armor, the Storm Commando armor, and the Zero-G Space Trooper. These efforts would make him very wealthy as a respected engineer galaxy-wide. He would go on to work on civilian armor suits under Imperial supervision for Krichaldan Industries and Coromandin PDS Incorporated, leading to his vaunted Sunder 9 power armor being a coveted collector's item, which several beings have attempted to locate and steal throughout the years to no success. But the Space Trooper Mark I would be his lasting legacy and most well-known invention, seeing deployment from the heart of the deep core to the outermost stars of the Empire. The Mark I Space Trooper is a power-armored suit that is at once sophisticated and very simple. The suit uplinks with its Stormtrooper pilot as they enter the suit through a rear hatch located in its backpack. It's purposefully designed to be run in conjunction with Stormtrooper armor, but isn't incapable of doing so without. However, on top of the standard armor, a harness is also to be worn to provide additional support. Starting from the top and working our way down, the helmet includes a rear view screen, suit status board, and a suit comlink that uplinks with the trooper's helmet, and communications can likewise be operated via the same method of tongue-activated selector switches.
How long have you had these droids?
About 3 or 4 seasons.
She'll be all right. Inform Lord Vader we have a prisoner. Do you know what's going on? Maybe it's another drill.
The suit also runs on the MEFTAS, or Multi-Frequency Target Acquisition System, which on top of giving a clear readout aids in target acquisition. The helmet also includes polarized lenses to prevent flash blinding, much akin to the other Stormtrooper helmets, so the pilot here is doubly protected.
Get behind me! Get behind me!
The backpack contains a set of inset forward-facing lights, communications antenna, the magazine for the suit's assortment of grenades, and the launchers which can extend out from the suit, affording the pilot an expansive firing arc, no matter the position.
Just get my men off this planet.
The grenade launcher's standard loadout included concussion, gas, and stun grenades, which were selectable by the pilot.
I'll do with minimal casualties to the indigenous. I'll drive them out with gas first. It'll be humane. More or less.
Behind in the backpack is the suit's environmental control apparatus, a fire extinguisher, and the suit's main repulsor lift propulsion unit. In the torso is an active sensor package that links to the main sensor unit and the sensor array. An integrated tactical display is visible from the saddle, and the extended range comlink is built into the torso as well, so it can be adjusted by the operator.
Stay in attack formation.
Going to the arms, with the right and left manipulators that move up and down the forearm, the irises in the middle can open, allowing the trooper's hands to exit when fully retracted, allowing the trooper to access systems more keyed for hand control or for delicate work that might require an adept touch.
Hurry it up. This is taking longer than I'd like.
Working as fast as I can, sir.
The right arm is typically equipped with a laser cutter and a blaster cannon, and the left hand wields the suit's miniature proton torpedo launcher.
It's away!
Negative.
It didn't go in.
Just impacted on the surface.
The legs. At the thighs are located control thrusters for the craft on the exterior, while in the interior an auto med injector is located there to treat the pilot in case of injury. 2 capsules are located on the device, which no doubt contain various chemicals for treatment depending on the injury, and this is likely mirrored on the other leg for redundancy.
Automatic medical systems engaged. Morphine administered.
Below is a function switch which toggles the foot stirrup in and out of attitude thruster control. At the pilot's foot are pedals, one controlling the coupler switch for the suit's magnetic couplers, which allow it to adhere to any metal surface. The other is the RPU switch, which activates the suit's repulsor lift propulsion system. Below the pilot's feet is the stirrup itself, but below the vent nearby is the auxiliary repulsor lift units. In front of them is the breathing gas and life support. The suit contains 10 hours of oxygen. While the Stormtrooper pilot is wearing a body glove under his standard armor, the entire suit is climate controlled through an internal environment instead of a body glove, and is capable of adjusting to extreme cold or hot environments. At the suit's heel is the suit's recharging power coupler, and the suit itself has 4 hours of power. And at the very bottom is the suit's primary magnetic couplers. That's all for the basic Space Trooper. However, the suits are capable of being equipped with different weapons. One unit known as Death from Above Squad, deployed with heavy repeating blasters. A Space Trooper with Bong Squad, a unit of veteran Swamp Troopers, had a heavy blaster. There are other minor differences between them, which I would say is the result of Death from Above Squad not having gotten a full recharge and rearmament of its secondary weapons, and are relying solely on their primary blasters. With their shuttle crashed in the story in question, it's easy to explain away that they don't have the power to run things like their repulsors, and in order to survive this engagement on the ground, have powered only their essential combat functions.
Well, Mr. Hornblower, there is our objective. Do you think you can hold it?
Must. Either hold it or destroy it.
Whereas Bong Squad's supporting Space Trooper is relatively fresh from the Dominator, the Bong Squad Space Trooper also demonstrates the range of its extended comm system, being capable of signaling to the Victory Star Destroyer Dominator in orbit.
Bring main railgun online, commence firing. Launch missiles.
According to the Battle Miniatures game, a Space Trooper is capable of being equipped with any sort of weapon. To get an idea of how wild this is, imagine you've been boarded by Space Troopers and find out they've been equipped with flamethrowers and are torching up rooms, while their heavy repeating blasters just mow through the defense line you've set up in the hangar bay, and cryoban grenades are freezing your unleashed Cyborian battle dogs in place. Beyond the basic armament, the Space Trooper is an awesome weapons platform. The Mark I Space Trooper is the oldest and most widely produced of its brethren. The first chronological instance of it can be seen in the Dawn of Defiance campaign, set in the early years of the Empire. In this adventure series, involving a prototype Super Star Destroyer being developed over the deep core world of Biss, we see two models of Space Trooper in use, the Mark I and a modified construction variant, which is being used to assist in construction of the vessel.
Their shield is down! That's it! You've done it, Rogue Leader! Commence the attack!
Not only do we see the Mark I Space Troop in this campaign, set within a period of 2 years after the rise of the Empire, but also instances of the other darker units of the Imperial military. This is the secret retreat of the Emperor, hidden and well guarded by elite units even this early into his reign, as construction began just after he ascended the throne. We see units such as the first Imperial Sentinels, mutant dark-side thralls who serve the Dark Jedi in Palpatine's service, Imperial Shadow Guards, an elite force-wielding arm of the Imperial Royal Guard. Even a Purge Trooper battle droid, a unit which ends up part of the Dark Trooper program to create advanced battle droids, being used to hunt down Jedi following Order 66.
It's a fool's errand, boy. The Emperor's army is infinite.
The construction Space Troopers seen here are equipped with the same armaments as their normal counterparts, but during the engagement against the prototype Super Star Destroyer can attempt to make repairs while under attack. The fact that these units are here at Biss means that either 2 years into the Empire's reign, they're already numerous enough to have been sent to Biss to bolster the construction and defense of this very first superweapon, and/or that the Space Trooper design was so successful that some of these new advanced suits were at Biss to personally protect this project.
Third target destroyed! We've done it! Great job, Wedge!
Growing from here, Space Troopers would become a staple for the Imperial Navy, first deploying from various capital ships such as the Victory and New Imperial class. The Space Trooper would also receive light-duty armor, which is standard Stormtrooper armor equipped with life support gear. While nowhere near as powerful as its power-armored big brother, the skill and training of the Space Troopers in them would still make them the most deadly soldiers to face in a boarding action. But more commonly, Space Troopers are going to be in their Mark I armor when engaging a foe. Early in Imperial history, they would have been deployed by a specific module from the new Beta-class shuttle. This craft had several mission-specific modules, including one for the deployment of Space Troopers. However, inherent issues with its modular design resulted in refits after only 2 years of service due to issues with the modular coupling system. As a result, A new design entered service using the Beta as a base, but with a permanent bay design. And in this case, the standard bay would be one designed around the carrying of space troopers. The Gamma Assault Shuttle would become the mainstay assault shuttle of the Imperial Navy by the time of the Battle of Yavin. While not available to every ship in the fleet by nature of the Navy's vast size, it's all but guaranteed that sector assets like Imperial Star Destroyers would have a complement of such shuttles.
Good. Prepare the boarding party and set your weapons for stun.
Yes, my lord. Lieutenant? Yes, sir.
The Gamma Assault Shuttle is a powerful craft, and along with its 5-man command crew, carries a platoon of 40 space troopers and their armor. The ship is also capable of recharging them in combat, allowing the shuttle to even act independently of a carrier for special operations. Following their launch from the craft to engage their targets, the shuttle possesses separate airlocks for the space troopers to re-embark into the shuttle. A unit of 40 space troopers is capable of immense damage, and capturing pretty much any target. Every trooper is a walking tank, and the corridors of a starship aren't going to be packing turbo lasers or heavy laser cannons to repel boarders. So a space trooper is going to be able to deal with nearly anything it comes across, provided they aren't already dead from decompression if they decide to breach the hull to enter. Combining their power armor with their advanced training, which is considered near peer to the Royal Guard themselves, Space Trooper units are among the most deadly combatants in the Stormtrooper Corps. Combine this with the fact that most Imperial Star Destroyers will be carrying a detachment of such troopers. That means if you're going to be boarded, these are the worst case scenario you'll have to go up against, as Rebel ships throughout the Galactic Civil War found out pretty early on. Coming from one of the best assault shuttles in the galaxy, backed up by a Star Destroyer, isn't something most people will be able to stop.
Bring me that shuttle. I want prisoners, Commander. Yes, sir.
And it worked. For almost 20 years, the Space Trooper Mark I was the standard Space Trooper suit seen in every corner of the Empire. Nearly every sighted engagement has the Mark I as the Space Trooper armor in question. Space Trooper armor is perfectly suited for its main combat role, that of acting as a heavy breaching unit against capital ships and spaceborne installations. Its varied armament allows for it to deal with just about any obstacle short of dedicated artillery. Its biggest threat in space is enemy guns from capital ships and starfighters alike, as they will be more than a match for its heavy armor when compared to a handheld blaster. While not suited for ground combat, that doesn't mean it can't fight there. In fact, there are at least 3 actions where space troopers took to the field in atmosphere against the rebellion. The Battle of Tal occurred roughly concurrent with the Battle of Hoth, as Imperial forces were searching for the location of the hidden rebel base. Tal was the site of a rebel outpost and training center, and when probes discovered it, the Victory-class Star Destroyer Dominator was sent out to investigate.
The report is only a fragment from a probe droid in the Hoth system, but it's the best lead we've had.
We have thousands of probe droids searching the galaxy. I want proof, not leads. If we followed up every lead,
But
we could...
the Hoth system is supposed to be devoid of human forms.
The lone destroyer would then engage in a full campaign against the rebel base on its own, and would remarkably succeed in destroying and capturing the base. The Dominator was fully equipped with a complement of assault forces for the attack. However, Tal was a uniquely hazardous world with an acidic atmosphere which wreaked havoc on mechanical systems. Rather than risking its walkers falling prey to a slow advance to disable the base shields, the Dominator's commander opted to deploy a fast attack force consisting of troopers, repulsor craft, and space troopers.
Well, one move left.
The battle lasted all day, and by mid-afternoon, the Imperial forces were facing wear and tear from the atmospheric conditions, and losses against pre-prepared defenses. But even while the Rebel evacuation had nearly succeeded, the Dominator and its forces had succeeded as well in eliminating one of the Rebel ion cannons and half the Rebel forces, before the final push of the assault captured the base. Another engagement, though with limited information, is from a battle in the Khuiumin sector. During a battle between Rebel and Imperial forces, an assault shuttle due to heavy damage was forced to land on an unknown planet. The Rebel forces hoped to capture the ship, as an intact assault shuttle would provide invaluable data on the craft's capabilities that they might use against the Empire. Both Alliance High Command and the local Imperial Fleet Commander saw the shuttle as an important target, so the Imperials and Rebels both attempted to secure it.
General, an Alkesh is a potentially valuable ship. Even if there are no survivors, we need to determine if it's space-worthy. If it is, we should salvage her.
Take it, Heat.
Yes, sir.
Mid-battle, both sides dispatched ships to the surface, with only minimal troops making it through. The surviving unit of 5 space troopers who'd been aboard to recharge, along with its crew, joined the line with the dispatched unit of snow troopers and stormtroopers holding a bridge and rock wall against an oncoming Rebel attack.
Reload! Quick!
In such a defense, 5 space troopers would be a serious force multiplier for the defending Imperials. With no armor support, holding that bridge should be easy for the Imperials against a Rebel charge. A final example of space trooper surface engagements comes from the events surrounding the field-secure container transport, Black Ice. Seized by a band of Rebel Commandos, they hijacked the ship and took it back to their sector HQ, located on the frozen world of Fangal in the Mortex sector.
Hey kids. We're not parked in a red zone, are we?
Black Ice, however, sent out a distress signal after arrival, alerting local Imperial forces to the base's location. Beginning an evacuation, the Rebel HQ quickly came under attack, and within 5 days, a unit of space troopers was eventually dropped planetside to attempt to breach the base's defenses. The attempt, however, would prove unsuccessful, and they would be defeated by the Rebel defenders, who would then use the captured transport to destroy the torpedo sphere, which had been sent to destroy the base afterward.
You'll have to take that to the secondary cargo hold. We need to make room for the Stargate.
Hey! Don't scuff the walls.
But where the Space Trooper excels is in space, in its primary role against enemy ships and stations. One famous example of the skill and bravery of Imperial Space Troopers is found in the record of Space Trooper Platoon 243XT, where the unit was tasked with the capture of the old Victory-class Star Destroyer, Grimdeath 1. Now operated by raiders, likely tied to the rebellion, the Space Troopers were tasked to engage the vessel and attempt to capture it before she could escape.
She's still vulnerable at the stern, like the rest of us.
Their mothership would distract the pirates, getting them to focus their sensors forward on the vessel, allowing their assault shuttle to sneak in unnoticed and unload the platoon of Space Troopers from the rear to strike at the ship. The unit was tasked with retaking the ship, filled with more than 300 pirates aboard. Here we see standard operating procedure for Space Troopers. First, they would use their rear approach to knock out the Victory's engines. Then the shuttle would sweep around and knock out as many weapons as they could, before launching a missile barrage at the hull to create an opening. 2 strike groups would then deploy. Strike 1 would go for the gap. Strike 2 would move on the bridge. Orders were to capture and not kill, as they wanted prisoners to interrogate. And of course, the ever-confident Stormtroopers were more than happy to carry out the mission.
For England! For home! And for the prize! Here we go!
And they were right to be so confident. Space Troopers rarely faced a threat that they could not defeat either by skill of their training or the power of their suits. But all that began to change with the rebellion. Now they were being forced into battles with odds that only grew in danger and intensity.
The Rebel Alliance is too well equipped. They're more dangerous than you realize.
With the declaration of rebellion by Mon Mothma and the open outbreak of civil war across the galaxy, the Space Troopers' role became more vital than ever. From Corellian corvettes to defecting Imperial cruisers, and even the supporting alien fleets of power such as the Mon Calamari, the Imperial Navy was now fighting against even more deadly foes. But fighting is what the Imperials do best.
In the heartbeat between words, he lost all hint of mockery and adopted a cold and serious tone. We have no intentions of surrendering. Not now, not ever. You may win the occasional battle against us, Vorik, but the Empire will always strike back. That I promise you.
One of the best action showing off Space Trooper capabilities was seen at the Battle of Khuiumin, a year after the Battle of Yavin. Two aged Victory-class Star Destroyers, Bombard and Crusader, took on a pirate armada of 140 ships.
Alert all commands. Ready for the tractor beam.
The skill and cunning of her Imperial crew allowed the VSD Bombard to capture several corvettes from the pirate fleet as they attempted to sortie against the destroyer. Holding them in place with its tractor beams, the Bombard launched units of Space Troopers and captured the enemy corvettes intact, then had crews shuttled to them and added the corvettes to the Imperial fleet. This shows the bravery and skill of Space Troopers to cross the Black to board enemy warships. Thanks to these troopers, the Bombard was able to secure the prizes and turn them against the pirates.
Can you fly a cruiser like this?
You mean, do I know how to land what's left of this thing?
Well, under the circumstances, I'd say the ability to pilot this thing is irrelevant. Strap yourselves in.
The Bat'ev pirates were routed, and the few survivors trying to make a run for it had to face the guns of the Crusader, and were destroyed. The rest fled to the surface of Khuiumin, and were wiped out the next day from orbit by the Crusader, with only a handful escaping to fight another day.
Planet has been secured.
The Space Troopers of the Bombard won the day, and in this 3-day engagement against the pirate armada, their efforts in acquiring those corvettes gave the destroyer the break it needed, and the additional firepower to ensure their ship's survival against the more numerous foe. Not only does this battle show off the power of the Victory-class Star Destroyer, but also that of the Zero-G Stormtrooper.
You're gonna attack them?
Sir, the odds of surviving a direct assault on an Imperial Star Destroyer...
Shut up!
So important were Space Troopers that a detachment would even be seen on the Death Star, with a sizable contingent of assault shuttles on the station for their use. But even so, the growing armada of the Rebel Alliance was not something the Empire could ignore, and the Mark I Space Trooper, while highly reliable, was now coming against more armed foes than what it had originally been designed to fight against. And a lot had changed in the nearly 2 decades since its development. While the Mark I Space Trooper had been flying around the galaxy, the Empire had quietly been developing other weapons projects, most notable and relevant of which was the DarkStryder program.
Kyle delivers the plans to the Rebel Alliance. Soon afterwards, the Death Star is destroyed. But even as the Alliance celebrates this victory, another sinister plot is set in motion that will become an even greater concern for the Rebellion.
The Emperor has approved your test demonstration, General Mock.
Thank you, Lord Vader. What I unveil today will mark a new era for the Empire. We will be able to decimate the rebels just as we did the Jedi Knights. At last, the Emperor's war will be filled only with the glory and beauty of decisive victory.
A noble cause, General. I hope the demonstration lives up to your claims. Proceed.
With pleasure. Dark Trooper, release.
Very impressive, General. The Emperor will be most pleased. Continue with your project.
Certainly, Lord Vader.
Developed by the former Spacetrooper-turned-General, Rom Mach, he'd lobbied early on to produce a new class of war droid for the Empire, which he succeeded in getting funding for, producing a slew of Phase 1 and 2 Dark Troopers, using data based on the results of the Phase 0 Dark Trooper and the Purge Trooper battle droid. Now backed up with the production capacity of the mobile factory of the Arkhammer, the Phase 2 Dark Trooper saw its first successful deployment months after the Battle of Yavin, against the Rebel TAC base on Talay.
Thank you, Commander, for responding at such short notice. The Empire has been keeping us on the run since the destruction of the Death Star. 5 days ago, the Empire attacked one of our secret bases in the city of Talay.
This is TAC base to anybody out there. Please, we're under Imperial attack. There was no warning at all. Total devastation. They broke through our shield. They broke through our shield!
TAC base was destroyed within minutes. Many innocent people in the surrounding city as well as the rebel staff were killed. Intelligence thinks that this may be an act of retaliation for the destruction of the Death Star.
Interesting. This looks like it could be a normal Imperial attack, except for those sounds.
Very perceptive, Commander. I know you understand that all we discuss here is classified. This Imperial officer, Crix Medine, wishes to defect to the Alliance. He has supplied us with information on the development of a new Imperial weapon. Those sounds you heard, we believe, come from that weapon. A new type of Stormtrooper, the Dark Trooper.
A new Stormtrooper that can take out a rebel base that quickly? I should have kept working for the Empire.
Though the Dark Trooper program would eventually be shelved for a time, its efforts and various units produced would continue on into service, perhaps even being restarted by ambitious Imperials with the right resources. I believe the Phase 2 specifically, along with the program in general, is responsible for the push to create a successor suit to the Mark I Space Trooper. Though no major actions record their first appearance, in time 2 new suits would be developed around the post-Yavin period. The Mark II and Light Space Trooper wouldn't see any noticeable mentions by Alliance records until the time of the Thrawn campaign, where they would prove instrumental in the raid at Sluis Van. But it is very likely both suits still saw action throughout the post-Hoth and post-Endor period, even if in a limited capacity when compared to their more numerous Mark I predecessors. The Mark II Space Trooper isn't that divorced from its original design. The most notable change is the design of the helmet, which now more reflects the silhouette of a Stormtrooper. The core equipment also remained the same, with a magazine-fed grenade launcher, laser cutter, and blaster cannon all still being part of the loadout. There are some notable differences. For example, this depiction here shows the Mark I-style manipulator claw on the suit, while this image on the cover of Cathal Rift has a new irisless gauntlet with 4 manipulator claws. Various sources mention the alternate use of rotating sleeves to punch through armor, and if I was to guess, this thicker design of gauntlet is the piercing version with its more solid and secure manipulator fingers and more bulky designed fist. But since this is clearly not standard but a variant, that means these could likely be used with the Mark I as well. The biggest add-on to the Mark II is a new weapon system, the Arachid Mini Proton Torpedo Launch Rack. This launch rack is mounted onto the back of the Spacetrooper. It has 4 launch ports including torpedo readout status, the mounting bar, a quick release clamp, a locking fin, and exhaust ports. The 4 individual launch tubes give a Spacetrooper even more devastating firepower against capital ships. Given its appearance and very similar stats it has to the Mark I, I believe it is in fact a refit of the Mark I, in a similar vein to the Empire's refitting of the Imperial-class Star Destroyer. The suit's stats are nearly identical, and the same goes for its armament in a lot of sources. Depending whether or not the backpack launchers are added onto the suit for an operation, it's very likely that this is the case. The reasoning behind it is simple. It's easier to modernize an older design already in service than it is to build a brand new suit. So the Mark II might have been produced as its own model, but this also allows for the Empire to begin refitting its older suits with new hardware, software, and weaponry.
Have you ever seen those electromyographic sensors in the old biomechatronic Mark I? A marvel of modern engineering.
And one example of this extensive modularity can be found in a very obscure source, that being the Super Star Wars games. While there is some question of canonicity to their events, the things inside them are still considered to be canon. This game gives us our first on-screen depiction of Space Troopers acting in a ground support role.
General Veers, prepare your men. Admiral.
In Super Empire Strikes Back, we have 2 encounters with them on Hoth, as Han is working to escape Echo Base. Funnily enough, West End Games' Galaxy Guide 3 states that Death Squadron carried Space Troopers as part of its Stormtrooper complement, and Galaxy Guide 3 came out before Super Empire Strikes Back, and this game is the only time we see them at Hoth. The sprite itself is traced from this artwork of the Mark II Space Trooper from the Heir to the Empire sourcebook. So by design, this is a Mark II. We definitely know that these are Space Troopers as well thanks to the Prima Guide. These Space Troopers are armed with a new weapon, however, what appears to be a pair of rotating cannons, meaning that this is some kind of heavy weapon Space Trooper. Comparing the size of its weaponry here to its standard loadout shows a staggering amount of firepower when compared to its standard single blaster cannon. While in gameplay the right power-ups you can beat them pretty easily, I imagine this wouldn't be the same result if Han actually encountered one of these things. These Mark IIs only appear on Hoth in Super Empire Strikes Back, but we get one more appearance from them later on. But if we take this game into account, that means the Mark II is in service at least around the time of the Battle of Hoth.
Good bet the Empire knows we're here.
We better start the evacuation.
But the Mark II isn't the only suit in service, because that is what the Light Space Trooper does. The Light Space Trooper is the 3rd major mass-production Space Trooper power armor. Sources list it as being developed after the Mark II, as the Empire is attempting to make the suit less bulky and more maneuverable, likely to get even more combat effectiveness out of the troopers themselves, given their advanced training. The Light Space Trooper is indeed less bulky than its predecessors, but this has come at a cost. The suit does possess all the same armaments as its predecessors. While I have seen one source that goes against this, the majority list it as having the same armaments. It's also stated that this greater flexibility comes at the cost of flight time. If it has, let's say, half the ability to run as the Mark I and II, then it has enough power for 2 hours and enough oxygen for 5 hours. But given the radical design change from the standard Space Trooper frame, where its life support systems are stored in canisters in the feet, for the Light Space Trooper it might be stored in the torso, backpack, or possibly the helmet itself within its elongated jawline. The battery systems I suspect are located within the backpack, given the look of the model here and all its colored inputs. At this scale, I don't know if the pilot would be wearing Stormtrooper armor underneath, but it's possible. It's hard to say.
Of course, at the time it was Mark III. There wasn't an integrated waste disposal system either. Count your lucky stars.
Its wrist-mounted weaponry likely contained the blaster cannon and the cutting laser, going by its art depictions left and right respectively, would be equipped with them. Its text here says that it has all the same weaponry as its older brothers, and given the Empire's proclivity for similarity, there might be a wrist compartment for its mini-proton torpedo launcher, and the left-hand cannon might actually be its mini-proton launcher. Though it might be the case that the lack of a visible laser mount could mean that the light space trooper might equip its wrist blades instead. Given its more maneuverable frame, a melee weapon like that might come in handy for boarding as well. Its grenade launchers are said to be shoulder-mounted. While we don't see any external mountings, I suspect that they are in those double-layered shoulder plates. Why is that? Because it's exactly the same for the Phase 3 Dark Troopers. The light space trooper in its design is very much a result of the Dark Trooper program's accomplishments. It's a radical departure from the previous models. Its slim frame and exoskeleton design is likely lifted from the results of the Phase 2 and 3 suits.
Catan will not be as easy to deal with. He is very resourceful. More resourceful, it seems, than even your Dark Troopers.
Since its development took place post-Yavin in the wake of the destruction of the Arkhammer, its designs would already be in Imperial hands, and with a clear crossover of development given Rommach's background, it wouldn't surprise me if he was involved in likely giving design ideas for the next generation of Space Trooper as well.
It's been a long time since I've challenged a man to battle. I'm glad my opponent is so
We know that while the Arkhammer was destroyed and lost its main production facility, the engineers behind it that were part of the Imperial Department of Military Research would still be around and in Imperial service when it concluded. While the loss of the Arkhammer saw the end of the production of these new Imperial battle droids, they still had the designs to produce a new, slimmer power armor exoskeleton.
This is an unfortunate setback. The Force is strong with Catan.
With these designs as a template, they could put all that effort to good use by rebranding and submitting it for a new Space Trooper design, which would still see mass production and would still feature the key design elements of the Dark Troopers it was based off of. The build is very much in line with the more sleek profile of the Phase 2 and 3 Dark Trooper. The double shoulder pad design is exactly the same look as it is for the Phase 3, so in a similar vein to the Phase 3's retractable shoulder plates that conceal shoulder-mounted missile systems, this very same mechanism is likely used by the light space trooper as well, but instead of missiles, it fires grenades.
I'd say diplomacy has failed.
All right, people, let's get this done.
I want every gas round you got right in the front door.
And also concealed weapons in the forearms, exactly in the same manner as the Phase 3 Dark Trooper. All this points to is that the Light Space Trooper is a result of the Dark Trooper program's accomplishments, and is a spiritual successor to the Phase 3 Dark Trooper. While this may be the end of the main production run of Space Troopers, there are outliers throughout the Empire. In fact, one of these outliers has existed for years, hidden right under our noses. It's at Endor, in Super Return of the Jedi. When playing as Luke, before he is captured and delivered to Vader, you play through a sequence where you explore the moon of Endor.
This is a rebel that surrendered to us. Although he denies it, I believe there may be more of them, and I request permission to conduct a further search of the area.
And working your way through the Imperial base, you are stopped by a strange shuttle. The ship not only darkens the screen and drops mines until it's destroyed, but also continuously drops a black version of Spacetrooper. These units are also encountered on board the Death Star and at the Emperor's Tower, all times acting as bosses, showing their elite status. I went through great pains to uncover their identity, because Prima did not make the guide for Super Return of the Jedi. Instead, it was published by Infotainment World Books. As a result, no one has scanned it, but I managed to track down someone who had a copy on Discord, who was gracious enough to dig through it and find any references to these troopers. In the Super Empire Prima, these are called 0G Stormtroopers, Here, however, they are called Dark Troopers. Now, not to be confused, this is likely something the author made up, because this book was published a year before Dark Forces released. I don't think this guy likely knew about the real Dark Troopers, and assumed just by appearances that these were droids. But in fairness, infotainment did work on the Dark Forces player guide, and the development time of Dark Forces does overlap with this. But without more info, I can't really say for certain or not whether this was intentional, especially with different authors. Unfortunately, due to the nature of cartridge games from back then, I'm told there's no name files to work with, so the game guides are our best source for the lore in this case. So for a bit of headcanon, I'd say this means for the one in Super Return of the Jedi, that this is a special unit. This unit of Mark II Dark Troopers are droids using leftover tech from the Dark Trooper program to make droid space troopers. Seeing as how we never see them again, this elite division could have been at Endor only to die there in its entirety. The first synthesis of Dark Trooper and Space Trooper snuffed out on its trial run. Because this isn't the only time we see Space Troopers at Endor. Because thanks to X-Wing Alliance, we find some more on board the Death Star.
Now, lock onto the strongest power source. It should be the power generator.
Form up and stay alert. We can run out of space real fast.
A small detachment of Mark I's set up some portable turbo lasers to block the oncoming Rebel force.
Looks like they've arranged a welcoming party.
Construction workers? They must be getting desperate.
Those aren't construction workers. They're setting up a turbo laser.
We have to clear that tunnel.
However, up against the rebels they are quickly blown aside, and the Falcon goes on to destroy the main power generator down the last corridor they were guarding. In the end, the final defense of the second Death Star was a desperate unit of Mark I Space Troopers. In the post-Endor period, we have quite a few mentions of Space Troopers, even a few holdouts that survived the battle itself.
Nothing's over while I'm breathing.
Even at Khuiumin, it was Space Troopers deployed from the reinforcing Imperial Armada that would rig the famous shipyards to blow, though they were ultimately spared this fate. The earliest outlier we already touched on was the construction Space Trooper seen at BIS, which was a Mark I variant. Another model of Space Trooper which has a full visible design was seen at a hidden Imperial depot on Silpar after the Battle of Endor. Silpar is located in the colonies, not too far away from major shipping and industrial powerhouses in the region such as the Tapani sector. So it's quite odd to see a unique model of Space Trooper like this stashed away in a hidden depot in the middle of the jungle. This suit stands out in its design, with its exposed wires and less bulky frame when compared to the Mark I and II. This model seems to be well known to the Alliance, as Wedge remarks on capabilities he's heard of before, implying that they have been seen at large or large enough to be known as rumors to the Alliance's top pilot. It's likely not a new suit due to the fact it's hidden away in some cache on a world in the colonies, and its exposed helmet wiring as well as its slimmer frame and posable hands to me indicate some uniqueness to it, based on the fact we don't see this type of suit anywhere else. But it could be a number of things, so let's go over the details we do know about it. The suit lacks a backpack propulsion unit, and instead seems to possess boot thrusters as seen in this panel here when it's on its back. The armor is more humanoid than the Mark I and II, looking more like an oversized Stormtrooper instead of a walking tank. According to L-Skull, it's designed for deep space and would be capable of flying 10 clicks or 10 kilometers in atmosphere before running out of juice, which might imply it has a high power consumption to operate, which at this scale is very much like the light Space Trooper. According to the Imperial spy Vance, it has firepower, so it likely has some built-in weapons, though we don't see them used in the story. Vance likewise explains that the suit has a built-in heads-up display, and while it weighs a lot, this can be mitigated by activating the suit's repulsors, so it has some repulsor lift tech in it. To enter the suit, the helmet is removed, and then a chest spring located near the helmet would unlock, allowing the pilot to climb inside. The most notable quirk these suits have is their tendency to short out and activate. When they do, they seem to enter a sort of patrol mode. This feature exists in other Imperial equipment, such as the ATST Walker.
With one hand gripping the entry hatch handrail for balance, she drew and ignited her lightsaber with her other hand, and slashed sideways through the heavy armor, cutting directly through the cockpit's twin seats. Nothing happened. For a moment, she continued to kneel on top of the hatch, her mind frozen as the walker continued striding down the street. It was impossible. An ATST's cockpit was nearly as tight as that of a TIE fighter. There was no way she could have missed the pilot. Unless there wasn't one. And then it all fell into place. Swearing under her breath, she stepped back onto the grating of the cockpit cooling system and jabbed her lightsaber blade through the entry hatch's locking mechanism. Closing down the weapon, she pulled the hatch open. The cockpit was empty. She slid feet first through the narrow opening and maneuvered her way through the cramped space into the pilot's seat. The auto guide and sentry mode sections of the control board glowed a cheerful green. Scowling, Mara shut them both down. The ponderous rolling motion stopped as the ATST finally came to a halt, the blaster cannons depressing to their off positions. For another moment, Mara sat where she was, glowering at the controls, feeling like a complete fool. An ATST's computer could easily handle the uncomplicated terrain of a city street, while its sentry mode could and would track and fire at anything that came too close without a properly coded transponder. All Caldra had had to do was get the machine pointed in the right direction, make sure it was traveling slowly enough that Mara would decide she had a chance of stopping it, and then disappear into the night. The Emperor would be furious. Vader would never let her hear the end of it. She took a deep breath, forcing away the images. Neither of them needed to hear about her failure, because she hadn't yet failed. The ATST's computer might be competent enough to handle a nice, simple city street, but it wasn't nearly sophisticated enough to maneuver itself out of the hole Caldra had blown in the Happer's Way cargo bay. That meant Caldra had been with it once, and therefore had been at the Greencliff spaceport, which meant he couldn't be that far ahead of her. More to the point, she knew where he was going. She would just have to get there first.
This must mean the suit must have some form of pre-programmed combat maneuvers, perhaps to aid in combat so the pilot doesn't wear themselves out, or otherwise were put in as part of the suit's sentry mode. The Empire is very keen to have tech based around letting the machines do all the work. A lot of this delegation is in order so that pilots can focus on their main task. We see this in everything from TIE fighters to capital ship gunners. So with that, what are the options for where this could be placed in the development timeline? Well, it could be an intermediary model of armor, a testbed for a slimmer design. Both the Republic and the Empire fielded numerous armor marks around the same time as one another, so this could have been an intermediary test model, whose data could be used, along with the refined designs from the DarkStrooper program, to have made the future light Spacetrooper armor, especially given its robotic exoskeleton behavior. Another possibility is that it's an intermediary between the Mark II and the light Spacetrooper, before the more upgraded design entered service. Assuming we go by this line here and assume that all Spacetrooper designs can be ordered by just going by what's the slimmest design. Or it could be clone Spacetrooper armor. Its more basic design is reminiscent of a less armored Mark I. It has a forehead ridge on its helmet akin to Phase 1 and Phase 2 clone trooper helmets, but with a face mask alluding to the future Stormtroopers. While the suit does fail to overpower a Wookiee in melee, remember, it's on automatic and not being piloted by a trained soldier, so if operated competently, it could very much be a threat to anyone it comes into contact with, since it is still power armor. But without more information, and with no other appearances, it's impossible to say when it came into being. But even still, there's plenty of details to use. Also following the Battle of Endor, a privately owned set of space trooper armor was operated by a wanted assassin.
What's even stranger is you guys usually don't take prisoners either. I mean, it's kind of kill first and... No, that's generally just about it, just the killing.
Around the time of the Thrawn campaign, Alliance Intelligence Chief Aaron Crackett's most wanted list included details on an unknown assassin wanted by the New Republic. The identity of this assassin is one Kin Laren, acting as a hitman for the crime lord Gorn Saron. They recently took on a bounty placed on several beings which caught the attention of Republic intelligence.
But you are very attractive.
What?
In actuality, Kin is a woman, using her feminine charm to sneak aboard a target ship.
No.
Don't worry, I'm not gonna hurt you.
Thank God.
Much, I hope.
Her preferred method of assassination is sabotage and poison gas. Once the target is eliminated, she'll ensure the kill with her suit of space trooper armor, which she deploys from her personal ship, the Hellax. The suit is modified to operate without having to wear Stormtrooper armor. It's equipped with a gas gun to disperse chemical weapons, ranging from stun gas to neurotoxin, with more powerful manipulator claws allowing it to pry open airlocks for forced entry. Given its stats and information formatting, this might actually be a Mark II that she's using. While the stats themselves are the same for a standard space trooper, the biggest issue of identification is that there's no defining stat differences between a Mark I and Mark II as far as I've been able to see. The best indicator is likely authorial intent. Since the formatting here is ripped from the Heir to the Empire sourcebook, I'd say there's a high probability that this is a Mark II space trooper. The same goes for the space troopers seen in the DarkStryder campaign. Assuming authorial intent takes precedence, those space troopers not explicitly marked out as Mark I are likely Mark IIs in the post-Hoth period, but not 100%. As we see in the X-Wing Alliance game, Imperials were still using Mark Is, whereas the cover of the Cathal Rift sourcebook, Mark II space troopers are on the cover, but the text itself only mentions space troopers as specifically Mark Is. But elsewhere in the DarkStryder campaign, this distinction isn't made, which might mean in these other instances, these might be Mark IIs, but it's just as likely they could be Mark Is. In these cases where the artist doesn't really know what the author is saying, it's better to go with the author and the content itself versus the artwork. It's likely Sarn might have Mark IIs, but in the instance of the stories in question, there's no definitive indicator of such. As a quick aside, X-Wing Alliance gives us some limited but useful information about space troopers. In the game, we see the laser blasts from the suit itself are green. Since the game came out in the year 1999, 3 years after the Heir to the Empire comic, it's possible they took some inspiration there, or simply deferred to TIE Fighter laser colors to give us what color blasts come out of their blasters. We also get this great cutscene sequence from the game showing us the suits in action.
Securing the station now, sir. Squad 1, hold up here. Squad 2, secure the hangar.
Then later, during Battle 3 Mission 5, Aaron Azamin goes out in another variant Zero-G suit, the Zero-G Utility, also called a Zero-G Utility rig in the Prima Guide. According to the game's tech library, they are designed for repair and construction duties in deep space. But the most important information we get from the tech library is this. we have the name of the manufacturing company for Space Troopers, which appears only in this game, and is likely responsible for the Mark II on top of producing the Mark I and this utility model, Dengler Xylan Inc.
We're gonna send a few technicians out to take a look. Fine. I guess we'll just sit tight for the moment. So much for smooth operations. How many technicians does it take to check out the pumps?
Since this is the only source it appears in, we have no info on where they were based, any other products, or further history therein. So for a bit of fun, I've extrapolated something to give them some character. Unlike the Space Trooper suit, there's a unique emblem located on the legs of the utility suit, and I would guess that this is the corporate logo of Dengler Xylan. There are some different ways to interpret this, the simplest being taking the two as is and imagining it as one emblem, as you'll see here. In any case, this gives us the company behind the production of Space Troopers, and is also another company that Dr. Llalik likely worked with to produce the utility suit, which is very much based on his design philosophy. His other designs, the Rad Trooper and Storm Commando armor, were made through Imperial Munitions. But as sources state, Imperial Munitions is a holding company, which likely means that Dengler Xylan is another company under the umbrella of Imperial Munitions. Imperial Munitions is the company responsible for the production of all forms of Stormtrooper armor, as well as a variety of other technologies. Not as powerful in scope as the Imperial Department of Military Research, which is responsible for the most important and powerful projects of the Empire, it nonetheless produced vital war gear galaxy-wide. The only definitive Mark IIs come from Heir to the Empire. Thanks to the West Endgame sourcebook and the novel itself, it's said to have a backpack proton torpedo launcher, which apart from its standard equipment lines up with the capabilities of the Mark I. The comic depiction of the light space trooper is inaccurate to the novel, and while retroactively made canon, is not what Luke and Han shot down at Sluis fan.
Luke, try to blow it apart instead of disintegrating it,
Han suggested.
Let's see how many people the Imperials have got stuffed inside.
Got it, Luke said. The mole miner was in his sights now. Adjusting his power level down, he fired. The truncated cone flared as the metal dead center of the shot boiled away into glowing gas. The rest of the craft seemed intact though, and Luke was just lining up for a second shot when the hatch at the top abruptly popped open. And through the opening, a monstrous robot-like figure came charging out. What?
It's a space trooper,
Han snapped back.
A stormtrooper in zero-G armor. Hang on!
He spun the Falcon around away from the space trooper, but not before there was a flash from a protuberance atop the other's backpack, and the hull around Luke slammed with a violent concussion. Han rolled the ship around, blocking Luke's view, as another concussion rocked them. And then they were pulling away, but with agonizing slowness. Luke swallowed hard, wondering what kind of damage they'd taken.
Han! Luke! You all right?
Wedge's voice called anxiously.
Yeah, for now,
Han called back.
You get the TIE fighters?
Yes. I think the mole miner's still underway, though.
Well then blast it,
Han said.
Nothing cute, just blow it apart. But watch out for that space trooper. He's using miniature proton torpedoes or something. I'm trying to draw him away. I don't know if he'll fall for it.
The Mark II here is very much geared to be a much more imposing model, with a clear Stormtrooper design to reflect its pilots, but does lose some of that unique ghostly visage that the Mark I helmet invokes. Likely they continued to see use by various warlord factions who had them, including the largest in the Returned Emperor, who unified the majority of the factions. These could have seen action in the mutiny above Coruscant as the Imperial fleet fought amongst themselves, and in numerous actions in Operation Shadowhand. Alas, with no further details on these campaigns, it's more inference on what they should be up to. But they should still be active in this period with remaining Stormtrooper forces.
The regular Stormtroopers were the easiest. Most of them were dead already, killed when Lando's activation of the mole miners had ruptured the air seals of their stolen ships and left them open to vacuum, and the rest were taken without much trouble. The 8 remaining space troopers, whose zero-G suits had allowed them to keep fighting after their ships were disabled, were another story entirely. Ignoring all calls to surrender, they fanned out through the shipyards, clearly intent on causing as much damage as they could before the inevitable. 6 were hunted down and destroyed. The other 2 eventually self-destructed, one managing to cripple a corvette in the process.
Our final model of Space Trooper armor appeared well after the fall of the main empire, seen in action by the New Republic fighting against the defense forces of the Maw, led by Admiral Dalla. These troopers were part of the Maw garrison, which included a detachment of stormtroopers. And given the nature of the Maw installation, zero-G stormtroopers would be very useful in ensuring security. Operating under the command of the Stormtrooper Garrison Commander, Captain Frey, the unit operated on rotation aboard the various Star Destroyers part of the Maw fleet. The rest of the troopers would remain garrisoned on board the installation, while the ships were on patrol ensuring the base was protected and destroying any intruders. No doubt in this role, space troopers might launch to ensure that there were no survivors, assuming any survived the fleet's TIE patrols or the patrolling destroyers, as well as responding to incidents at any of the off-site labs, or to operate in decompressed areas of the facility during a crisis.
Do they have a code clearance?
It's an older code, sir, but it checks out. I was about to clear them.
They were first encountered by the heroes of Yavin as they attempted to destroy the Death Star prototype by destroying its reactor with time detonators. While outside the Millennium Falcon, they were accosted by a space trooper with vibroblade claws and a trooper holding a blaster rifle.
Going to war, Lieutenant? Can't be too careful, sir. You've seen too many science fiction movies. We just need the 3-phase pistols. Put the rifles back.
Later, we see troopers which act in a similar manner to the construction variant we saw at BIS, working to repair the damage done by the last detonator. This correlation leads me to conclude that these suits are Mark Is, likely modified units done by the Maw team, whose scientists have a record of doing such modifications to other craft, such as the installation's TIE fighters. While stormtroopers and soldiers don't generally allow civilians to mess with military equipment, a decade of total isolation and nothing else to do would be plenty of time for the higher-ups to take whatever small upgrades to fighting prowess they can take. And for this small detachment of space troopers, such upgrades would be a useful force multiplier. This attachment of vibroblade tips or the use of blasters is a fairly simple modification. The mention of reinforced joints on the elbows and knees shows that it might not just be the gloves, but also perhaps additional armor enhancements were done to up the suit's combat effectiveness. These suits might not be numerous, as was the case for the squadron or so of super TIEs at the Maw, but for a detachment of space troopers, which wouldn't be too numerous in itself, it would be enough to easily increase their combat effectiveness. Now, one could argue that the blaster rifle is meant to be the blaster cannon on the arm of the Mark I, and the vibroblade claws on the gloves are simply meant to imply the Mark I's manipulator claws possess vibroblade-like qualities, or that the gauntlets were open to allow the stormtrooper's hands inside to wield a blaster, and these claw hands alike. I managed to find some limited clarification on that by asking the author directly. While it's not much, KJA still confirmed to me that these would likely be Mark I's with possible modifications. I would have enjoyed having more detail, but I don't blame him for not having more for me to work with, especially 30 years after he wrote this. If anyone else could find more details, I'd appreciate knowing. But I have found some evidence from another source. In the Choose Your Own Adventure book, Jedi's Honor by Troy Denning, published in 1990, we have space troopers attacking various asteroid settlements in the Saloom system. These troopers are also identified in the text as assault troopers, but more importantly, are also described, apart from using their standard armament of mini proton torpedo launchers and suit-mounted blaster cannons, also making use of blaster rifles. This mix of varying loadouts shows quite an amount of modularity and choice at a trooper's disposal. Unfortunately, there is no art of these rifle-toting troopers, but if there are more gauntlet variants for the Mark II, then for these ones to wield rifles, they need something more human than these manipulator claws. Unless, like I surmised earlier, they are simply operating with these rifles with the irises open to wield them. Another useful example from an obscure source, helping to tie these disparate pieces together.
Flight regarding this
But even with the fall of the Empire proper, after the final death of the Emperor and the Dark Empire, the Imperial Remnant still saw some innovation with the ideas the Space Trooper introduced. A hybrid between the Rad Trooper and Space Trooper can be seen in the Hazard Stormtrooper, which, along with being designed to work in hostile environments, is also space-capable, and is a synthesis of several power armor ideas that no doubt the Empire was working on for a very long time. It saw used at Bass Castle by Imperial forces loyal to the Disciples of Ragnos faction led by Tavion.
Tavion! This stops here.
Ah, Kyle's good student. You're too late. Soon, Marka Ragnos will return and obliterate the Jedi. The Sith shall rule again.
They are extremely tough, and in great numbers can even press a pair of Jedi. But in time, even a lightsaber will deal with the toughest of armor. Still, Hazard Troopers are very resilient, and thanks to their humanoid hands, this allows them to make use of various Imperial weapons. Most commonly, they were seen during the Disciples of Ragnos crisis wielding Stoker concussion rifles alongside Imperial heavy repeaters. Combining these rifles with their heavy armor makes these troopers as deadly as the environments in which they can be found, from acid-soaked worlds like Vajun to strolling through lava fields on Taspir 3. Another possible innovation, this time thanks to the Light Space Trooper, is the Imperial Rocket Trooper, a sort of blend of power armor and jump trooper tactics. This larger suit was also used by the Remnant in Jedi Academy. Its trooper stat is listed as a power armored operator, which means that this likewise is a set of Imperial power armor. The weight and other feats of the armor itself show this trooper as operating a lighter suit when compared to the Hazard Trooper. Likewise seen in combat during the Disciples of Ragnos crisis, they could be found patrolling facilities such as Krildor and Taspir 3. The two suits fought together most prominently on Vajun, Taspir 3, and when Kyle Katarn and Jaden Korr were captured while investigating Biss.
I don't sense the dark side here, Kyle.
Me neither. That's not good. Tavion must have been here already. An Imperial Dreadnought! I'm gonna get us out of here! They've got a tractor beam on us. I can't break free! Okay, here's the plan. I served on one of these ships back in my Imperial days. You disable the tractor beam, and I'll trigger the ship's self-destruct. Ready?
Ready as I'll ever be.
Here, as the two Jedi fought their way through the Dreadnought, Jaden encountered numerous Hazard Troopers, as well as a single Rocket Trooper as part of the ship's troop complement. Both of these troopers here stand as the last recorded instance of Imperial power armor being used in shipboard combat. Having both of these troopers here in a way harkens back to the duties of a Space Trooper, though in this case in defense rather than offense. While neither is totally suited for this role when compared to their predecessor, nonetheless, it's another example of the innovations of the Space Trooper, and the Imperial desire to have power armor enhance its best troops, even near the end of its war against the New Republic. The Zero-G Stormtrooper is meant to be the ultimate soldier in space. Against pirates and smugglers, they are insurmountable. Against rebels and traitors, they are terror. To the Empire, they are the best at what they do. These soldiers are among the finest and most dedicated in the Stormtrooper Corps, ready to lay down their lives in the cold heart of space to ensure their fellows live and the Empire endures. Everywhere that mattered, the gaze of a Space Trooper was always there to safeguard the Empire and to defeat its foes. They were the deadliest commandos of the Empire, walking tanks that could not be stopped. They are the powered armored fist that crushes the Empire's foes, no matter the cost. I'd like to give a special thanks to SubJohn22 for his fantastic artwork. Be sure to check out his DeviantArt and support his work as well, so he can keep helping me out. Link in the description. I'll also see about setting up a Patreon in the near future so you can support my work while I'm putting all this stuff together. In the meantime, be sure to like, sub, and comment below as I enjoy responding to questions from you all. I also have Ed1TA, or Sham as I know, and my buddy Zero to thank for making these graphics, which really adds a lot to the experience for you guys. My buddy Pancho as well has been a great motivator for me to work on my stuff, as well as helping him out work on his videos has been a lot of fun, so be sure to check him out and give him some love as well. Until next time, Ross out.